Do you remember what was the first time you got into rock? For some people, it could be a special song, an album, a concert, or a video clip. But for many, that happened with a video game. In the mid-2000s, something truly special happened. A plastic guitar with 5 colorful buttons and a whammy bar introduced rock to a whole new generation and turned millions of people into rock stars. This is a story on how the first Guitar Hero was created. The game that not only invented rhythm gaming, but also changed how a whole generation connected to music itself. In this video, we're going back into 2005, before YouTube fame, before streaming, before music was basically an algorithm, or only 20 seconds for TikTok, to understand how the strange idea about a toy guitar became one of the most influential music franchises in history. Welcome to the series The Genius Of, and let's talk about Guitar Hero. Before Guitar Hero, rhythm games existed. Well, barely. Although they're more popular in Japan, with titles like Beatmania, Poppin' Music, and Dance Dance Revolution, their games have been huge hits since the late 90s. But nothing really had picked up in the West. Rhythm gaming was a niche, with quirky imports, expensive peripherals, and almost no mainstream recognition. We did have a few examples in the early 2000s with games like Frequency and Amplitude for PlayStation 2, but they were basically just rhythm-based sci-fi games where you hit buttons in time to electronic tracks. They were liked by critics, but not commercially successful. And I watched a couple of gameplays of that, and they felt very simplistic and very soulless. The company behind those games was Harmonix, a small company founded on May 10th of 1995 in Boston by Alex Rigopoulos and Adam Egozi, who met while attending the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The founders are both MIT grads, obsessed with music and technology, with the primary goal to let anyone experience the feeling of making music, even without real instruments.
The big aha moment came when Alex, who was at the time really into video games, took the joystick from the flight simulator and said, "Hey Iran, what if you took this joystick and hooked it up to the music program we've been working on?" So I said, that seems like a cool idea. And in about a couple of days I had it set up and working, and what we had was this thing that, for lack of a better name, we called joystick music. If you move the joystick left and right, the notes would rise and fall. If you move the joystick up and down, the notes would get faster and slower. But no matter what you did, it always sounded good. So we programmed sort of the thought process and the mechanics of a master musician or an improviser into the computer. That's when Harmonix was born.
Harmonix is also responsible for the creation of Karaoke Evolution, game released in 2003, which I guess was the first time I played a game developed by them. And although, like I say, they were okay games, I always felt they're lacking something more. It felt more like those early projects were more like a baby step towards a bigger one. Something was missing. Maybe something physical, something more visceral, and that's when they got a call from an unlikely partner. That call came from Redcotane, a small company known mostly for making peripherals like cables, memory cards, joysticks, and you know those dance pads? Well, that as well. Redcotane had noticed that rhythm games are exploding in Japan, especially Guitar Freaks. A 1999 Konami arcade hit that used a small plastic guitar with buttons on the neck, and although popular in the East, never reached Western markets. With the idea to bring the experience to the US, Redcotane wanted to enhance the experience, but with a better guitar, a better game, and the power of the PlayStation 2. They approached Harmonix to handle the software, while Redcotane handled the hardware, and together they began building what would become Guitar Hero.
Well, we started our company in '99. We were doing this online game rental service, but remember when Netflix was sending DVDs through the mail?
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
were doing that, except this was the age it was. It was for Sega Dreamcast. PlayStation 2 had just come out. and the Nintendo GameCube. It was that era. They were all discs, and we're shipping them through the mail. But it was through that service that we learned about all these music games from Japan that were playable on modded PlayStation 1s. And we had a bunch of people in the office who were fans of those rhythm games, and we were playing them and decided that we wanted to be in that business. And it started with, back then, the most popular one was Dance Dance Revolution. Mm-hmm. And DDR had not made it to the US yet, but people were playing the sort of the Japanese versions that you could gray market and buy and mod their PlayStation 1s and play them here. But they couldn't get the dance pads, so we started selling dance pads. And then we started making our own dance pads. And then from there, we made a dance game. This was over the course of like 5 years. We made a dance game called In the Groove with a studio in Austin, Texas called Rockstars Games. Ported that to PlayStation 2, and that was our first game. So we were a publisher. And then the second game we did with Harmonix, that was Guitar Hero.
After working a couple prototypes for the game, they landed on the famous small toy-like guitar with 5 color fret buttons and a flickable strum bar that would become almost like a required accessory on each home. It was unbelievable to see that everyone had a guitar like that at some point in their lives. Each button represented a note highway on the screen, and the strum bar was mimicked picking, while the whammy bar let players bend the notes. Guitar Hero was released in November of 2005 in North America, April of the next year in Europe, and June of 2006 in Australia. And I think before I even talk about the game and the songs, what really made Guitar Hero 1 so distinctive and special was Harmonix's obsession over the feel. How the notes line up, how the animation synced with the music, and how the crowd reacted to your performance. It was very small touches, like if you miss a note, the audience would boo. If you nail a solo, everyone would cheer and fireworks were exploded. The visual and audio feedback made every player feel like they were truly commanding a stage. It was exactly that feeling that those games released before lacked a lot of.
But I mean, it really does let you to perform these songs, and some are saying, well, there's been other guitar games in the past. You know, there's Guitar Freaks. They let you play it. What's the big deal? But Guitar Hero to me felt like a completely different game.
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of kind of gameplay innovations in it, but I think the more important thing is that it's not just about the gameplay, it's about kind of the essence and spirit of the game, that this game was going to be all about kind of the insane glory of rock guitar playing. So everything from the song list to the visual design is all about just rocking, and that's kind of the essence that we try to project through this game.
The main mode, the career mode, was where the players and an in-game band travel between various fictional performance arenas and perform sets of 4 or 5 songs. Players could choose their own stage character and the guitar, and although those elements will have no effect on the gameplay, they will affect the visuals during the performance. They would earn in-game money for the performance, and they could buy extra content on the in-game store to unlock additional songs, additional guitars, additional characters, and stuff like that. At its core, Guitar Hero's gameplay was simple. It was 5 color notes scroll towards you on a vertical highway. You hold down to the matching button and you strum at the right time, you got it. But the genius part of the game wasn't just for the simplicity for sake, but the flow that every song felt like a true performance. By nailing specific phrases, you fill up the star power meter. Then you took the guitar and then you scored double. Everything went blue and it was excited. It just amazing feeling when that happened. Visually, the first Guitar Hero had this grungy comic book style that was exaggerated, colorful, and unapologetically loud, with every menu screaming rock culture. Distressed fonts, amps, skulls, graffiti textures, and that added so much to the immersive part that I'm 100% sure that Guitar Hero had the impact on rock audience the same way that the Tony Hawk Pro Skaters games had in a couple years before on the skate culture. When they're not only creating a great game, but they add so many elements from the skate culture that they never been added before, it made the game incredibly immersive. And it is the same thing with Guitar Hero. We are going to talk about the songs in a little bit, but before that, let me quickly go over the characters and the venues. The characters in game were a lineup of playable guitarists that perfectly capture every single rock stereotype imaginable. There was Axel Steele. He represented like a hard rock, heavy metal genres, most specific the old school precursors of heavy metal in the 70s and 80s. Judy Nails was the punk rock queen with stripped leggings and a killer attitude. Izzy Sparks portrayed her like the glam hair metal rocker from the 80s especially. Pandora representing the goth genre. Clive Whiston with a 60s mod psychedelic style, and Javier Stone with a fusion of futuristic and psychedelic flair. It was impossible not to relate it with at least one of the characters, regardless of your favorite genre. There are also 6 venues from the small basement to the big city garden that would emulate the band getting bigger and bigger as they would progress in the story. And Toxic Summerfest is always gonna be my favorite. And then it came the hardest but best part, the soundtrack. Music licensing was a nightmare. Between the tiny budget and the awareness that the big record labels weren't exactly eager to hand out master tracks to a weird video game about fake guitar, Harmonix had to be creative. Instead, they used cover versions for almost every song. They were close enough to the real thing, but with a raw garage band energy that matched the spirit of the game perfectly. And it became a charm, honestly, and throughout my whole playthrough, I had no idea they were cover songs. Maybe because I didn't know most of the songs at the time, but I have no problem listening to, and it took me a very long time to realize they were not original songs, honestly. So they nailed it. And I'm gonna let it roll a video of the making of those songs. All songs are covers of the original versions, credited as, for example, Iron Man as made famous by Black Sabbath, and were performed by the Wave Group Sound just for the game. Guitar Hero 1 featured 47 tracks. And that's when things really started to change from. Not to mention every single track, they are all here. If you play this game, I think you remember every single track. But apart from a couple songs that I already knew, like I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett, Smoke on the Water, Killer Queen, Iron Man, Fat Lip, Ace of Spades, the game introduced me to bands that later on would become my absolute favorite and helped me shape my taste in music. It was such a rabbit hole, honestly. I played the song in the game, liked the song, liked the artist, go to the internet, download more tracks, all the entire album about the band, and repeat. That happened so many times, man, like so many times. Sorry, Lars, I didn't have money to buy every single CD. Tracks like Texas Flood by Steve Ray, Stella by Incubus, More Than a Feeling by Boston, Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne, which I knew who Ozzy was, but I guess I never listened to anything. You got Another Thing Coming by Judas Priest, Crossroads by Cream, Cowboys from Hell by Pantera, Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth, Sharp Dressed Man by ZZ Top, Take Me Out by Franz Ferdinand. I heard all of them for the first time at the game. It was part game, part music education, and I'm definitely inserted on the list of countless players that had their first exposure to many classic rock and heavy metal tunes thanks to the game.
You have like a guitar. You are standing in front of the video game. You see, your band on stage. You see the crowd cheering. And the songs that we picked for the game, I thought were really, really great songs. So we focused in on this sort of, that sort of 70s and 80s kind of, rock, like really basic rock or hard rock, a little bit of metal, but there was a sweet spot where you had these like crazy guitar solos, all that era.
Yeah.
And so I think something about the combination of the fantasy that we were giving people about, hey, you're now a guitarist, right? You are starting in your basement, just scratching out a living, and then at the end you get to play these gigantic arenas. That kind of sold the experience. Yeah. But also just holding the instrument, right? Which is something I didn't realize was so important, but it was about the physicality of doing the action. Yeah. And even though you're not actually playing guitar, it kind of feels like you are.
Yeah.
Now, let me show you something interesting. To all my fellow South American players, you will relate with me on that one. This is actually how I play Guitar Hero, at least for the first 3 games on the series. I used to buy pirate PS2 games growing up, but I actually played the first 3 games with my DualShock, and I had no idea it came with a plastic guitar. I personally never really owned a plastic guitar, and this is how we played. So what I remember was we used the L2, L1, L2, R1, R2, and X. There will be the 5 colors on the guitar. This actually worked on the game into the Aerosmith version. After that, the Metallica version, they did only with guitars. But it was funny because it was actually easier to play the solos, but the songs that you have to press like each button a lot, because the solos you could go like this and you actually move around a little bit quicker, but the ones that like I Want to Be Sedated, that you have to press it a lot, it was like harder. But that's my whole experience with Guitar Hero over here. And like I say, I never owned a plastic guitar. Like I play a couple of times, but I never owned one, so I'm not really good at the plastic guitar. But let me know in the comments if that was your first experience with the game. I want to hear, because it's funny to know it's a very different perspective from a lot of people, I guess. There were also 17 bonus songs available that could be purchased in the game's virtual store. Many of the bands featured in the bonus songs were fairly smaller bands, and many of them had Harmonix members participating, and many of them were located in Boston. But they did have Fired Up by Black Label Society, and some of my favorites are the title track played by the fictional band Monkey Steals the Peach, Eureka, I Found Love by Upper Crust, and Caveman Rejoice by The Bags. When Guitar Hero launched, expectations were modest, but shortly after, the game became an unexpected hit. It was the second highest selling PlayStation 2 title in February of 2006, selling close to 1.5 million copies through December of 2007. It received an almost 92% score on game rankings and a 91 out of 100 on Metacritic, with IGN praising the fantastic soundtrack and the great peripheral. Suddenly, players everywhere were throwing parties, hosting tournaments, and talking about the songs and the bands of the game. I mean, you can call Guitar Hero anything but like an overnight sensation.
What we noticed with Guitar Hero was that sales just continued. So even though we were now in January and February and March, sales just kept climbing. And so we could tell, wait a minute, something is different here. This is not behaving like the normal kind of game that we were used to. It's really picking up. We were noticing essentially of a viral phenomenon, where word of mouth was traveling really fast and everyone wanted a copy of the game. Did I ever suspect that it would do well? Like, absolutely not.
The game was an important bridge between music and play, since bands noticed, parents noticed, and kids who never picked up a real instrument start learning guitar because of Guitar Hero.
Well, so yeah, there's really wonderful stories that I've heard. One thing that we found out is that when people played these games, they got inspired enough to try to actually play the real thing.
Yeah.
And that was really the most wonderful moment, is to realize that guitar teachers were telling us that they were seeing an uptick in the number of students that were applying, wanting to take guitar lessons. And the reason was, oh yeah, I played Guitar Hero, and now I want to play the real guitar.
That's so cool.
You know, so that's super cool.
Yeah.
Same thing was happening with Rock Band. We know with the drums, for example. You know, we were actually teaching people how to play the drum set using this game, and then they would go off and become drummers in rock bands, which was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, you're actually doing the real thing.
Yeah.
And I also found out by talking to like some students of mine now that it kind of changed the way that they thought about themselves. And this was really interesting. You know, I had a student who said that before the game, they didn't really think of themselves as someone who could perform or who could do something in public. And after playing the game, they realized, like, wait a minute, this is something I can do. You know, it changed their image of themselves.
Wow.
And I was like, oh wow, that's super cool.
Of course, Guitar Hero was just the beginning. Its success spawned sequels, spin-offs, and imitators, which is not the focus of the video, but within 2 years of their original release, Guitar Hero 2 refined the formula, Guitar Hero 3 became a global juggernaut, and Rock Band, another from Harmonix, turned it into a full band experience. What's fascinating, and I guess the whole point I wanted to make with this video, it is how it reshaped the music industry itself. Labels started viewing games as a viable marketing tools, and songs from the 70s found new fans born after 1990. Older bands and artists featuring Guitar Hero and Rock Band experienced a surge in the popularity of their music, and their series have been seen as a way for younger audiences to experience the classic rock songs featured in the games. Newer bands and unsigned artists had also found success by being included in the game. This led to, before the denial, several bands actually seek placement of the songs within the games. The impact of Guitar Hero on the music industry had caused music publishers to reevaluate their approach to music licensing and their relationship with the video gaming industry. Later on, we had examples like Slash and Tom Morello on Guitar Hero 3, Guitar Hero Metallica, Guitar Hero Aerosmith, Rock Band The Beatles, and so many different versions of Guitar Hero and Rock Band that was inevitable that the franchise would eventually collapse under its own weight. But I still don't think we can fully grasp how impactful those games were for our generation.
I think it's a huge honor to be part of this game. It's like I actually represent electric guitar to a legion of kids that are into this game, which has got to be the most popular game out right now. And I've been asked to put my brand on it, which is very, very cool.
My youngest was playing the first version of it, and I said, all right, I'll give it a try. And I think I was playing a Jimi Hendrix song badly, and I gave it back to him. And then I picked up the phone and called my manager and said, we have to get some more games, some more songs on one of these games. And the whole thing rolled into this this thing where we became the first band to have our own game. And we were pretty shocked and amazed that it turned out the way it did.
If you said 5 years ago, in 1999, it's 10 years ago, or in 2004, whatever, that you'd sit here and we would be sitting here doing an interview about Guitar Hero, Metallica, what does that even mean? I mean, 5 years ago, this wasn't even on the map as a cultural phenomenon. And now it's part of our daily vocabulary. It's part of who we are and what defines popular culture in 2009.
What's your story with Guitar Hero? When did you start playing? Did you play like the South American guys like me back in the day? Did you own a guitar? Did you play Rock Band? When did you stop playing? Do you still play to this day? I know I was doing a research for this video, and there's a lot of people that still play and have like streaming and play different versions. And nowadays you can literally play any song on the game, which takes a little bit of the aura and the vibes of the game for me. But you know, it's interesting to see so many different versions of many songs on different rock bands and Guitar Heroes. But anyways, let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think with Guitar Hero, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.